All right. We're live. Welcome everybody to this week's edition of Fights Unwrapped. To the right of me is always my co-host Alec Carr. Alec Carr, we do this every single time before we start anything. So if you want to plug any handles in, this is your time to do so.
Yeah, you can, as always, follow me at Alec TD Car. I always mess with this. It's right there.
Yeah.
It's my personal account. As always, some pretty off the wall opinions, some craziness, some very strong opinions. You can also follow me at Fourth and 26 Sports. That's more of a Philadelphia news, sporting news stuff, but we're getting into more, putting out more fighting headlines, putting out more national headlines. I just put out the thing about um, the NFL player that should be arrested. We won't get into that. It's a fight pot. This is a fight stream, so we won't get into that. But yeah, we got everything there from NFL to fights to basketball, baseball, and you'll see me hop in and out probably of the hoops on Wraps live stream as well, and then always Unwrap Sports Network.
There you go. All right. So before we get into it today, we do not have a fight card to break down, but we have a lot of UFC headlines. But before we get into that, we gotta talk about our sponsors real quick. The first one, obviously, one of our favorite welterweights, Carlos Condit, who recently won his fight against Matt Brown. He's a huge advocate of RxHemp.com. So RxHemp.com is a place where you can get premium CBD products, both icy cold creams, and right now, if you use the promo code RXHemp-USN, you can get 10% off your order. That's right. Anybody who is training still, who needs anything for recovery, this is the place to go to get all your recovery needs. And if you don't believe us, believe Carlos Condit because he's a huge advocate for it. So, and the next sponsor that we have is MyBookie.ag. That's right. I know Alec Carr is not a betting man, but for sure I am when it comes to these fights, and especially with other sports. With the Super Bowl coming up in 2 weeks as well, I'll be using my bookie.ag. And if you sign up right now, use the promo code USN100, you can get double up your first deposit up to $1,000 if you have $1,000 lying around and you want to use it on something. You can use it on my bookie.ag. All right, so like I said, we have tons of headlines to talk about. The first one is something I believe that Ali Carr brought to the Fights Unwrapped chat notices, which is Volkanovski. He likes Alex Volkanovski, so it's funny that we bring him up right now. But he eyes a fight against McGregor. I know lately you haven't been a fan of Alex Volkanovski, but he eyes a McGregor fight. He wants to secure his GOAT status as the best featherweight of all time. And so, Alikar, I think you brought this article up a while back. So, what do you think about this headline about Volkanovski wanting a fight against Conor McGregor?
Um, Sorry, my audio got cut out for some reason. On my headphones, but I can still. Am I coming in good?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, so I think this is more Volkanovski just kind of he's trying to run from Max Holloway, for being honest, and I don't like the guy anymore.
Mm-hmm.
He's talked all this crap that he knows he won that second fight. He knows he did this. He knows he did that, and it's just nonsense. Um, but it's that Volkanovski doesn't want to fight Conor McGregor. He'll get knocked the hell out. And I know
Yeah.
people are saying would say well, what about the Poirier fight? He lost it again. Yeah, but he was winning. Probably he definitely won the first round. He looked like he was winning the second round, and he got too aggressive and he got caught. It happens with strikers. That's why this where the saying comes from. A puncher's chance. That's what it means.
Mm-hmm.
But Volkanovski just beat, or if he can beat Ortega, you you better fight Holloway after that. I mean, that's
Yeah.
just you gotta give him that trilogy.
Yeah, I agree. I was gonna say, I think Alex Valdez said Jesse said McGregor was a lot, and I lost $50. I'm like, we both said that. We both thought that McGregor was gonna win that fight as well. So we're sorry there, Alex. But anyways, just backtracking to what we were talking about. Alexander Volkanovski, I mean, you have some work to do if you want to be cemented as the greatest featherweight of all time. First of all, you have to beat Ortega. That's number one. I believe that's March 27th, if I'm not mistaken, that fight. And then also you have to give Max the trilogy. I mean, everybody, like, literally 90% of the world agrees that Max won that second fight. So for Dana not to put that trilogy on, which I believe he is, and for Alex Volkanovski to be like running away from that and saying that he wants to fight with McGregor, a fight with McGregor is not going to cement you as the GOAT in featherweight. It just won't. And then also you have Zabit, you have Yair Rodriguez as well, which is questionable to return. But you have a few people, a few contenders in line that you have to beat for sure in order for you to become called the greatest featherweight. But in order to become called the greatest featherweight, you have to beat Max Holloway. That's how I see it personally. Just like because the Ortega fight, we already know our opinions on the Ortega fight. We're not the biggest fans of it, like just because like Ortega just came back. I wish Ortega had one more fight before he beat, and then Max is supposed to be the one fighting for that trilogy. Instead, Max got the Calvin Kattar fight, which he demolished and took apart Calvin Kattar, and I had to miss that. I had to catch the highlights, but it was like his best performance. According to Alec Carr and according to everybody else, they're saying that was Max Holloway's best performance against Calvin Kattar. So, I mean, if you want to talk about who the greatest featherweight of all time, a lot of people said after that fight, especially, that Max has always been the greatest featherweight of all time. Like, he's also beat Jose Aldo as well, who was technically the greatest featherweight of all time. So technically, I still think that Max Holloway is the GOAT. So Alex Volkanovski, I don't know where you're getting your head at for, like, thinking that if you fight Connor that makes you the GOAT, but that doesn't mean anything in this division.
Yeah,
So
and it's just, I mean, it's just utter nonsense. Like, fight the people in front of you. Connor has expressed no interest in
no.
going back down in weight. I think it would be really hard for him to go back down since he's gone all the way up to welterweight at one point in his career. Getting back down to that weight class would be extremely hard for him. Um, I think he walks around very heavy these days. Um, so I mean,
Yeah.
Volkanovski would have to come up, and then he would vacate his title. I don't understand. It doesn't make any sense. It's more of, I think this is more of, I'm going to call out Conor McGregor because everybody else calls out Conor McGregor.
Yeah, maybe he wants a money fight as well. I mean, I don't think that's because it makes no sense, like, to say that McGregor is considered the GOAT in that category where he never even defended it, right? So he only defended it maybe once, twice, probably once or twice or whatever against Jose Aldo, which is admirable. But then, like, Max became the champion after he vacated that title, and he actually beat Aldo. He beat pretty much everybody, including Ortega, including Volkanovski, in our opinion. So, like, he
Right.
should be the GOAT. He is the GOAT, right? So let's just
The,
let's just leave it
the
at that. Yeah.
well, the one more thing, the reason why
Yeah.
Conor gets the argument for being the GOAT featherweight of all time is because he beat everybody. I mean, he beat literally everybody in that weight class on his way up. He even said during the press conference this week that maybe it was a mistake coming up from featherweight, which probably not. He's
Oh.
made a shit ton of money.
Yeah.
So I still think the other fights happen without coming up from featherweight, but I mean, I don't think he's really that depressed about it because he's got he's worth like
Still
five
got the
hundred
money.
million dollars now.
Yeah. He's still getting that money, so I don't think he's depressed as well. But we'll leave it at that. Volkanovski, yeah, stop running away from Max Holloway. That's the lesson after this
Yeah,
headline.
I mean,
All
I would
right.
run too if I saw that Cater fight.
To be fair, yes, exactly. So I still gotta watch that whole fight again, but we'll move on to our next headline. And this one scared the crap out of me because, like, I remember watching Michael Chandler's fight. It was incredible against Dan Hooker. I was so happy that I got to watch that fight. He caught him with a good hook, and I was just I don't know. That was this whole part was kind of scary to me because I told Alec Carr, I'm like, when Michael Chandler yells in the mic, it scares the crap out of me. And like pretty much he said like, Connor, surprise, surprise, there's a new king in the lightweight division. And he said, Dustin, your time has come. And it's funny because it feels like when I read this headline, it was like he was foreshadowing what was going to happen. Funny enough, right? He said, your time
Hmm.
is about to come. And then so I thought that was really funny when he said that. And then he also said, Khabib, if you want to become pretty much he wants to say if you want to become go 30-0 and beat someone like me if you can. So pretty much Michael Chandler called out all the lightweight contenders, including the current lightweight champion, which is still Khabib Nurmagomedov. And I just thought that when he said that, I didn't expect because we expected Connor to win that fight against Dustin, and it was just so funny that I think Michael Chandler might have foreshadowed something different, might have seen something different maybe, and then Dustin Poirier ended up winning that fight. So, what do you think? Like he was just mad poised, like even though he was yelling in the mic, very well spoken. Said "see you at
Well,
the
he,
top."
he
Hmm.
held it in all since the fight was announced, since he got in the UFC. He's been holding that in. He's a nut job. He's a nutcase.
Yeah,
Um, and that guy is scary. That explosiveness that I mean, I've watched a bunch of Chandler's fights.
hmm,
Um, but you never really realize how explosive he really is. I didn't, at least until that fight. I mean, he just exploded at Dan Hooker, who's just much taller than he is,
much larger,
and
much taller. Yep, yep,
and Hooker was, you could tell Hooker was getting ready for takedowns and all this, and Michael Chandler's like, nah, that's not how we're playing this one. We're fighting. Um,
yeah. That was
and
good.
I I thought it was great. Um, I thought the callouts were great. I thought it was great to see him finally let loose in the UFC. Finally see him be himself, instead of being, towing the company line and being the politician. Um, I will say I would love to see him fight any of those guys he called out, but he
Yeah,
left one out.
New
He
Bronx.
left he left out
He
Du Bronx.
Yeah, he
Like
did.
everybody,
Charles Oliveira, by the way, people, for
yeah,
reference.
like
Yeah,
like everybody's doing. Nobody's calling him out, and it's because honestly they're all terrified of him. I would be too. Um, the guy is
yeah,
he's just at another level. It feels like right now. But I mean, let's run it. Let's see him. I would love to see him fight Connor. I would love to see him fight Poirier and Khabib. I mean, I don't know if Khabib's ever fought a fighter that explosive. Connor's certainly not that explosive. He's more of a tactician.
yeah,
Um,
it's true.
and we didn't even get to see Chandler's wrestling. So, who would I pick in that fight? Khabib. But I
Khabib,
mean,
yeah,
it would be interesting to see because what he did in that Hooker fight is not what he's known for. He's a wrestler.
Mhm.
So it would be good. You can tell he's been training since March.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Yeah. He was ready. He was so ready. I was so impressed. I think like because a lot of people were choosing Dan Hooker to win that fight, and rightfully so. Rightfully so, especially with Jesse, when he was on the stream and he was pointing out how Dan Hooker was called. He's used to attacking the lead leg of like Michael Chandler. Michael Chandler not being able to switch stances really fast and stuff like that. So like a lot of people were choosing Dan Hooker to win this fight, and then but you can just tell Michael Chandler was ready for it, and then, like the way he closed that distance, being the smaller man, it just shows how good of a fighter he is as well. So and he didn't really use much wrestling, maybe a little bit on the ground, just a little bit when he took him down, but pretty much, yeah. I'm impressed. I can't wait to see who he fights next. For sure, I would love to see him against Du Bronx. I would actually love to see him against Du Bronx. That would be my ideal matchup right now, just because like they're both really great on the ground, and then like maybe he'll keep it standing up, or maybe he'll keep it standing up against New Bronx because you don't want to go on the ground against New Bronx. That's
No,
scary. That's
doesn't matter how
scary.
good you are wrestling with Du Bronx, you don't want to go on the ground, especially since he's
Yeah,
like I mean, he would thrive on his back against a guy like Chandler. He'd be like, "Give me your arm, give me your neck, give me a leg."
Whatever it is, he'll win on the ground. That's what
Yeah.
it is. And Charles Oliveira is some people call one of the greatest, if not the greatest, submission artists. Even though a lot of people might think some other fighters are better, but a lot of people right now are saying he is number one when it comes to submissions. So speaking
I would
of
say
which,
he's number one
yeah,
active. That's for sure.
yes, yeah, active, yeah, that's what I mean. Like right now, when I say right now, I mean active fighters
Right.
as well. But it's funny because the next headline we're talking about is someone who I know. You brought up this article. I know. We're here. We go. We're gonna roll our eyes. We're gonna shake our heads because Tony Ferguson is back. He's back bitching about something else, and he's like just pretty much there's something wrong with him, right? Am I crazy to assume like his screws are usually loose a little bit, but now they're more loose than ever before? And it's funny because I read the article that you posted, Alcar, about Tony Ferguson accusing Poirier of pretty much dodging him or ducking him or whatever you want to call it. In the midst of his victory against Conor McGregor, I read that article and they're saying how why did Tony Ferguson lose against Drew Bronx? Pretty much, he said that he let the attack in instead of defend. I'm like, oh, 100%. 100% he didn't do anything. Like, he just literally let Drew Bronx do his thing on the ground. He let Drew Bronx control the entire fight. And then he also made an excuse saying that, you know, the warm ups, like before you enter into the octagon and stuff like that, they were more condensed. There was less timing, and I'm like, well, everybody has to deal with that. That's how I see it, right? So I don't think that's an admirable excuse. No
Yeah.
offense to Tony Ferguson. Everybody has to deal with that. Everybody has to deal with all of that, and then so I don't know what his problem is. Like, you know what I mean?
His
I
problem is he needs to retire. I mean, at
Yeah,
this point, it's like Poirier didn't dodge you. We all know what actually happened. Poirier won more money. You wouldn't give up your side of the purse to give him more money. That's how these things work. It's a split between fighters, right? That's the business of
yeah,
UFC. That's how fighters get paid, bonuses and stuff like that. But they get paid on a split between the two fighters. Like if you looked at this split, Poirier got paid $800,000. Conor McGregor got paid $3 million. So
yeah,
what I'm guessing is what happened is Tony Ferguson is the bigger name. Poirier is the better fighter. He's the bigger name. He was going to get more money, and Poirier probably asked if he could give up some money, and I'll definitely do the fight then, but he wouldn't.
hmm
So I mean, and it makes sense because this is what Tony Ferguson has complained about recently. I don't have enough money. It's just Khabib owes me $250,000. This is nonsense. This is bullshit. It's like, dude,
yeah.
win a fight. Like just win a fight. That's all we want to
He's
see. We
lost two fights so far against Gaethje and Drew Bronx. So I mean, just yeah,
right.
exactly. You just have to win
And,
a fight and get up there. Yeah,
and his excuse that I let him attack. You didn't let him attack. Dude, Bronx destroyed you and dismantled you and didn't let you go on attack because you couldn't handle his Brazilian jiu-jitsu. So just shut up and win a fight,
yeah,
dude. Go fight Dan Hooker. Get an easy win under your butt. Like go fight. Not that Dan Hooker's an easy win, but go fight someone who should be a win. Like Tony Ferguson, Paul Felder. As much as I love
right.
Paul Felder, Tony Ferguson at his best should destroy Paul Felder.
We
Um,
say should because we don't even know if he's at his best right
right,
now.
right. So go beat one of those guys. If you can't beat one of those guys, just retire. Just call quits because you're done. And I'm tired of seeing your name in the headlines and seeing your stupid face on all my feeds. And we get it. You're
Yeah,
you're you're angry about Khabib and that it never happened. Khabib's weight cut and he screwed you over. He did. He really did screw you over with that. But
yeah.
just shut the fuck
Unfortunately,
up.
yeah.
Boo hoo, you're a millionaire and you get to do your favorite thing in the world every day.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so annoying. Like people like Alexander Volkanovski, Tony Ferguson, like people that I used to look up to now I just don't want to see them in the headlines anymore. It's just kind of sad, right? Like that they're using excuses in order to, because they're complaining about something, or they want more fame, or they want more they want the GOAT status. I'm like, well, but here's the thing. If you want to talk about Volkanovski challenging McGregor, if you want to talk about who the GOAT is, I mean, Max Holloway has pretty much beaten everybody in that division. Conor McGregor has beaten everyone in that division at that time. It's your time to beat everyone in that division. You still have at least three people to beat
Yeah.
besides Max Holloway. Again, you have Ortega, you have Zabit, and you have Yair Rodriguez, who is questionable to return. But I'm just have to say that name out there just because he's up there in the in the rankings.
And Curry, don't forget the zombie,
And the
Korean
zombie as well,
zombie.
yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, like that's what I mean. Like that, instead of complaining about being the GOAT, you have to prove to your to everybody why you're the GOAT. You have to beat everyone in that division. You know,
Right.
and like Max
Right.
Holloway at the time like did that. But he lost to Volkanovski, and then there you go. Now you're the new champ. You can't just cement yourself as the GOAT just because Connor's not the easy way out. Connor didn't take the easy way out. He actually beat everyone in that division.
Right. Connor
Including himself.
beat everyone. Connor had one of the hardest come ups out of anybody. Like Dana
Yeah.
didn't believe in Connor at first. This whole idea that Connor is Dana's baby, that's only after he made it. When he came up, Dana would say things like, "This guy's annoying. I don't like him, but he
Yeah.
keeps winning, so we're giving him fights."
Yeah.
Um, and like you said, he beat everybody and he left the division and continued to win. So, I mean, it's just ridiculous. It's so fucking stupid.
And same as Tony Ferguson. Like, stop complaining about not getting fights when you keep losing.
Yes,
You
just
know?
stop it.
Yeah, just
Dustin
fight.
didn't dodge you. If anything, you dodged Dustin because you wouldn't give up more money. Now, that's just me speculating. I don't want anybody who watches this to think that I know that
Yeah.
for a fact. But
Yeah.
knowing the business behind the UFC the way that I do, that's probably what happened. Otherwise, that fight would have happened.
Yeah. No, exactly. I agree. I agree. So, Tony, shut up and fight someone and get a win. That's pretty much what we advise you to do. Is stop complaining and stuff like that. We're sick and tired of your antics. And I don't want to see that name like ever again. Like until he wins a fight. Like honestly, at this point, like I never want to see his name in the headlines until he wins a fight because like that's just ridiculous. This is not the Tony Ferguson that I looked up to. That is one of my favorite lightweights in the world. That's for sure. So, I mean, Dana, get him a fight. Get him to shut up. You know what I mean? So, there you go. All
Right.
right. Next headline, we're gonna talk about. This is a really interesting fight. Very, very interesting. I know you're a huge fan. I'm a huge fan of it. Robert Whittaker versus Ty Lacrosse. I believe that's gonna be April 17th, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, it is
Yeah.
for a fight night. So that's gonna be a huge fight night. Number one, because like you have both Robert Whittaker and Paulo Costa. And do you remember? I remember when we did Robert Whittaker versus Darren Till, and I said like, never in a million years would I ever think that Robert Whittaker was going to headline a fight night, and now he's headlining another one because basically Izzy is moving up to face Jan Volkovic, whatever it is. I know that's a stupid fight. We'll get into that in a little bit later on in the other streams for sure. Once we get closer and closer to that fight, I still can't believe that fight's going on. Basically, I don't know if you read like articles and stuff like that. Alec Hart, but Paulo Costa is saying that he thinks that this should be like an interim title fight because he thinks that Izzy going up in weight class should signal like there should be an interim champ because then you're holding up the division. What do you think about that statement?
No.
Yeah.
No, I mean,
Yeah.
if Izzy was planning on staying up there, but all signs are indicating that he's coming right back down, because John Jones wants to stay a heavyweight. Um, he's pretty happy up there. He looks like a beast. He doesn't have to worry about cutting weight. Why would he come down? Um,
Mhm.
he's
Yeah.
got really Izzy's got the if Izzy needs that fight more than John does. John's already beaten everybody, so Anyway, that's a different topic for a different day.
Yeah.
But Izzy's gonna come right back down, and he's gonna probably whoop both of their asses again. As much as I love Whittaker and the Reaper, I think he'll put up a better fight next time against Izzy. But this should not be an interim belt. I'm not a huge fan of interim belts to begin with, just because
Me neither. Yeah.
it's like a placeholder. It doesn't really make any sense.
Yeah.
You're not really a champ in most people's eyes. You're just the temporary champion until you can consolidate the belt. It's stupid.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like that's what I appreciated about Justin Gaethje is he was like, this thing's meaningless. When he was in, like, it doesn't mean anything to me. I love this fight. I can't wait to see the Reaper beat just the brakes off of Costa
Yeah.
and really show the fraud that he is. Um,
Me too.
because I don't like the guy, and two, color me not impressed by his performances. I still think he lost to Romero. I've seen that fight a handful of times. I still don't see how it went the other way. He got destroyed by Izzy, as we all thought he would. He got hit with one leg kick, and he was like, I don't feel like fighting this guy anymore.
Yeah.
And Whittaker's going to be in his face. Whittaker's a much better fighter. He can take this to the ground if it needs to go there. But Whittaker's going to just be in his face, and Costa's not going to know what to do. So, no, this should not be an interim belt. It's a really good fight. It's the fighter of who gets the shot next, is what's believed. I think Dana even mentioned it. I believe he
I'm
did.
sure he did. Yeah. I'm sure he did. Yeah.
That whoever wins this fight gets a title shot, and that's how it should
Mm-hmm.
be, because Izzy's on his way to being one of the GOAT status people. So
Yes.
shut
Mm-hmm.
up, Costa. Like, I know you want the belt, but beat somebody who you know is an
AKA
actual
the Reaper.
contender.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly. Exactly. So I'm excited for this because I still think that Robert Whittaker. I think he's gonna win this fight, 100%. He's just a more well-rounded fighter. He knows how to close the distance. He's explosive. He's looking real good. Okay, like since the last fight, he's been looking really good. The last fight against Jared Kennedy and also against Darren Till, he looked amazing in that fight. So, I mean, I can see it. I don't know if I see it going to decision because his last two fights he has gone both fighters, and don't forget Jared Kennedy is a very explosive fighter. So like, and the same as Pablo Costa, right? So imagine putting both those fighters in decisions. That's crazy. Like, for me, because like everybody thought that, oh, Kanye is gonna KO him and Kanye is gonna knock him out. Kanye is gonna TK, whatever. Okay, like people thought that that was gonna happen, and no, like Robert Whittaker like took this whole fight to the distance. I wouldn't be surprised if he
yeah.
actually took the whole Costa fight to the distance. In my opinion, yeah.
I think he wants to. Costa can't last 3 rounds. I mean, could you imagine him going into a fifth round? This guy's got
I think,
really.
yeah, it's a 5 round non-title fight, so
He
yeah,
was
I can't see
gassed at the
that.
Romero. I mean, just look at the Romero fight, right?
Yeah.
Romero let him gas himself. Costa won that first round, but Romero let him win the first round because he knew he was going to gas him out, and he got
Mhm.
gassed down. Romero took over the fight. Um, but I don't think Whittaker is going to let him win a round. I just don't think Costa has a path to victory at all in this fight, other than landing a lot. Like Costa,
Punch.
he's got a
Yeah.
yeah, he's got a puncher's chance to win this fight. But yeah, like you said, and I've said, and will continue to say, the Reaper's back.
He
This
is.
is not
Yeah.
Robert Whittaker. The Reaper is back in full form. He's back to being the fighter that we know, and I can't wait to see him fight Izzy again.
Me too. I'm. It's just kind of sad because like we both think that even if he gets that chance to fight Izzy, like there's a good chance that Izzy's probably going to win as well, right? So like, does that make like you with that assumption, does that make the middleweight division any more or less exciting for you, knowing that like it's like it's kind
No,
of like how Khabib is like everybody's like, oh, everybody. no one can be. Not even Conor McGregor can be. But then now, as like the lightweight division, some people say it's less exciting because you just know that Khabib is gonna win every single fight. And then like a lot of people might say with the GOAT status of Izzy, like that Israel Adesanya, it's just going to beat everybody. So like, does it make it less exciting because there's like in a way there's less competition, for him
I
to
I
pretty much
I
salvage. Yeah.
I could see how some people think that. And probably, honestly, I might be in the minority here. I could see how most people see that. I
Mm-hmm.
listen. Robert Whittaker. I would pick Izzy in that fight. I'd probably pick him in a TKO. I don't think it would go to the distance. But I think it would be a really, really good fight. And that's why I watch fights. I watch fights to see good fights. Um,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and of this version of Robert Whittaker versus Izzy is a great fight. Um, Now after that, after he beats him, I don't, what is he going to do? Fight him again? Like Robert Whittaker is the only one that really stands a chance against him. Um,
That's
so
what I'm saying.
that's
Like,
where
yeah,
I I mean maybe let's see what some of these other fighters can do in this weight class that are coming up. Maybe Darren Till catches fire. Um,
we'll see. We'll talk about him next, obviously. But
yeah. Yeah. Well, or the guy he's fighting next, right? Maybe he
Marvin
maybe
Vettori, yeah,
maybe he's the next guy up. But I don't just don't. It's the same thing happened with Anderson Silva. He beat everybody. It doesn't matter. I'm gonna watch. Like
yeah,
people say that about Khabib all the time. Like, oh, he's just gonna win. I don't care. Yeah, he has some of the biggest pay-per-view buys in UFC history. So obviously
yeah.
you care, and obviously you still watch.
That's true. I guess like for me, maybe I'm in the majority of it. If there is a majority of this decision, like of does the middleweight division is it getting less? It's like getting less saturated to me just because I feel like Izzy is going to beat all of these people, all of these fighters and stuff like that. But hopefully the prospects or some of the contenders move up and not move up, but like catch fire, like you said. Just because like I'm starting to think like there's no one in that division that Izzy can't beat. And so it makes it a little bit less exciting for me to watch. I still will watch it, like just for a good fight, but if it's Izzy
Yeah,
versus somebody, unless it's John Jones, that's the only person that I think that could pose a real threat to him personally. And obviously, he would have to move up in two weight classes to fight him. So, just saying, that's just my opinion on it. But
yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And I'm sorry, I'm not looking at you or the camera.
that's okay.
Monique knows I have a 9-week-old puppy at home, and he's starting to chew on some pillows. So I'm on puppy duty here while doing the
Yeah.
stream. So if I go on mute, I'm still paying attention.
No, I hear you.
um,
I hear you.
but no, you're absolutely. I get it. It's not as exciting, and people would say that the weight class wasn't as exciting when Silva was there either, because everybody knew Silva was going to win. Um,
Hmm.
but that happens. That's what happens when you have a guy that's achieving goat like greatest of all time status.
Hmm.
It happens in every sport. And for years, I mean, Tom Brady's been in this. Let's talk. If you want to bring it to another sport, Tom Brady's been in 10 Super Bowls. He's played in the Super Bowl over 43% of his career. That's fucking
Yep.
insane. But I still watch.
That's true. That's a good point you have there. That's true. Yeah, I'm excited for the Super Bowl. We'll see what happens. Let's go. Like this is a fight stream, so we'll not get into football at the moment. Even though I want to sometimes, just because like the Super Bowl is coming up, and that's my day of me treating everybody and stuff like that as the Super Bowl. Like for some reason, like the International Fight Week is like my week where I treat everybody to like food and drinks and stuff like that. So that's what the Super Bowl equates to me. All right, so the next headline we're going to talk about is similar to Robert Whittaker versus Paulo Costa, even though they're not super contenders yet, but they are contenders. Marvin Vettori versus Darren Till for April 10th fight card. Right now, I remember I think it's Marvin Vettori who last minute beat the Joker, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was him, right? Yeah. And then Darren Till, and he wanted Darren Till, actually. He was like literally after the fight, he was calling out Darren Till. He was saying, Dana, let me fight Darren Till. And they were going at it. Now they're going at it on Twitter with each other. But basically, I'm excited for this fight. I think that I'm very, very surprised at how good Marvin Vittori was in the Joker fight. I was not expecting that. We were thinking that Joker is probably going to win. We thought that Joker was or Jack Hermanson, if anyone does not know the reference. We thought that he was a better fighter in all different categories compared to Marvin Vittori. So when Marvin Vittori came up and stepped it up and pretty much put on a clinic against Jack Hermanson, that really surprised me. And I'm not gonna lie, against Darren Till, I don't know, because I think that with Marvin Vittori, if he's performing like this, and Darren Till he still needs to like dip his feet and like settle his feet down in this division, like in my opinion, just because like I haven't seen him really feel super comfortable in middleweight just about yet. And so, what do you think about this fight, Alex Carr? Because I'm pretty much right now my money's on Vittori. I'm not gonna lie.
I would just err on the side, and Darren Till's starting to piss me off a little bit too. All these guys I love are starting to piss me off.
They're pissing off. Yeah, yeah,
Darren Till is more because of outside of the octagon. He's acting like an idiot right now. But anyway, whenever a fighter takes a fight like Vettori did on short notice, the one thing we always forget is that Jack Hermanson did not prepare for Marvin Vettori. I'm not saying that Hermanson would have won if he had a full fight camp for Vettori. And to be honest with you, Vettori shocked me. He shocked the world when he did that. He really showed off his fight IQ. I mean, I had always assumed that this was a guy with heavy hands who wasn't very the smartest fighter, but was an exciting guy to watch. But he proved me wrong. He was very, very smart in that fight. He stuck to his game plan. He listened to his coaches. I always, again, and I'm sorry, Marvin Vettori, if you ever watch this, I thought you were an idiot, but it turns out you're actually really smart and really good, high fight IQ fighter. Darren Till at his best is too. It depends what version of Darren Till you get, but Darren Till, when he's focused and energized and doesn't play into the other fighters' traps, he is one of the best fighters in the UFC. But every once in a while, you get the Darren Till. Not every once in a while, often now, you get the Darren Till that wants to prove something. The Darren Till that wants to show off. The Darren Till that wants to say, I can do what you can do better than you can do. And it's just not true, Darren Till. You are an amazing, amazing stand-up fighter. And like, just use what you're good at. If I had to pick right now, I'd probably side towards Vettori too, just because. I mean, I don't know what version of Darren Till. He looked really good against Whittaker. I was really pumped to see him against Hermanson because that was the original fight. Because I thought that would be another really good test for him. But I mean, Vettori just beat Hermanson, and he did it not easily, but he did it better than most people thought he would. Darren Till, you got a lot to prove right now. If you lose to this guy, I don't know what you really do next.
In this division, especially, like he just entered this division and he had like what two fights or something like that so far in middleweight.
Right.
So
I mean,
I just think that, like you said, which version of Darren Till is going to come up because, when he's not focused and he doesn't implement his game plan and he goes off the grid, that's when you get in trouble. That's why you got knocked out by Masvidal. Like, that's why I saw that when I was in London. That's exactly what happens when you're off your game plan.
Yeah.
When you stick to your game plan, right? Then look what happens with Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. You win. Like, that's what I mean. Let's see if I have Any comments here? Okay, no, that's good.
No,
Okay,
yeah,
but
some
basically,
we got a spammer commenting on us.
we got spammer bot or whatever. Yeah, commenting. I was looking at that too, but just like that's what I mean. I don't know which version of Darren Till this, like you said, is going to come up, but I hope it's the focus one. That's for sure.
Hon-
I would love to see him win.
Honestly, they were talking about this during Darren Till's last fight, about how big he is, and
Mhm.
maybe he needs to go up again because he is a large man in middleweight. I mean,
He's
he's
huge.
still very big. He's bigger than
Yeah.
everybody else in the octagon when he fights. I don't know. I don't know if he loses this fight. I don't know what he does next because he can't go back down. It was literally killing him to make that weight.
Mhm.
Maybe the weight class is just too good. It just sucks because he is, when he's focused and sticks to the game plan, he is
When he
incredible.
is focused, when he is
Right.
focused, that's the thing. What he needs to work on is literally fundamentals, like in terms of discipline. I think that when he has that discipline and he's not off the grid and like doing all these antics and just really focused and motivate. Because I don't see that motivation. I don't
Now
see the motivation from Darren Till, right?
I
So
was just gonna say maybe he needs like a prescription of Ritalin or something. I would never I would never advise taking prescription drugs, but maybe he's got some serious ADHD and he just needs some Ritalin. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is for Darren Till if he loses his fight. And I don't, as of right now, I need to go back and watch more Vittori fights to really make
yeah,
a choice on this. But as of right now, based off recent history, I gotta pick Vittori like you.
yeah. Yeah, it's just like because like Darren Till has been so inconsistent, like in terms of his focus, and like my opinion is that if he was like John Jones right now, if he was super motivated and he's super pumped and like super focused and super just ready to take on the division, then okay, then I will go 100% pick Darren Till because now I see a more focused and more motivated Darren Till, but I don't see that. I see the same Darren Till that's like off the grid, outside of the octagon, pulling antics. I see that more than I see a motivated Darren Till. So
Yeah, he and you're right. Now, off the outside of the octagon, he does not look like he's focused. He doesn't. I mean, it doesn't look like he's training. He doesn't
yeah.
like even
What's
if
he
you're not in
doing?
fight camp, you gotta stay training, dude. You're a
Yeah,
professional athlete. Like, stop going to the pub. Stop hanging out with your friends. And then maybe it does go back to that because Darren Till got famous really young, and maybe he just got caught up in the fame. It happens. It happened to Brian Ortega. It happens to pro athletes around the world. Allen Iverson got brought up in fame. So I mean,
yeah,
so maybe that's what the path Darren Till is going down on. He's just not been surrounded he hasn't surrounded himself with the right people. Um,
yeah,
maybe a change of camp would help him. Maybe but he's got to do something if he loses his fight, which I think he will.
yeah. Well, right now we're both siding on the what's called we're siding on Vittori's side just because Darren Till. If I don't see a more motivated Darren Till like coming up to this fight, then there's no way I'm picking him, and there's no way he's gonna win against Vittori. I'm just saying that right now, just because like I think like you just said, all the guys that you Alucard you pretty much like are like pissing you off. Well, like Darren Till is somebody that was indifferent to me, and he's just been someone that I was like, I don't mind him, I don't hate him, right? But then when I see that he's unmotivated, it makes me not want to root for him,
Right.
to actually win. So
Right.
until I see that, my my answer is Marvin Vittori all the way because Vittori looks super motivated. Have you seen that man? He literally called out Darren Till after his matchup. He's
He's a
ready.
he's
Yeah,
a
he's
scary. He's not only his mentality. He's just a scary looking dude. Like he's just a scary
yeah,
guy.
yeah. That's true. Yeah, I know, right? I got scared. Well, him versus Jack Manson, both of them look scary to me. Like when that matchup happened, but
Right. Remember his
yeah.
cut afterwards? They asked him about it. He's like, I don't fucking know. I got cut. He scratched me. He's like, he kept
Exactly.
scratching me. I don't know.
He kept scratching.
Yeah.
my God, that man. So obviously we'll leave that for now. We'll see how Darren Till is closer to the fight. Hopefully, I want to see a more motivated him. I miss seeing the Darren Till against Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. I miss that a lot. So
That's the fight you always fall back on for Darren Till, and we can move on after this. He
yeah,
fought Stephen Wonderboy Thompson better than anybody has ever beaten him in Stephen Wonderboy Thompson's entire career. Darren
career.
Till outsmarted one of the smartest fighters in the history of the UFC. Um, and that's what you keep looking to. You keep looking at that fight and you go, how did this man also become this man? It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll leave it at that for sure. We'll see. Darren Till, get your act together because I really want to see you win. But then we're gonna go into our last headline, which is Alex rant of the week, which is obviously Jake Paul versus Ben Askren. I saw the heavy breathing going on right there. Take a deep breath, Alex Carr, because this is your time to shine right now with your rant of the week. I guess like before you rant, I'll have a little bit of a rant just because I know for you you're gonna take up a decent
15
time,
minutes.
yeah, 15 minutes on this rant. So I don't have much to say about this. This is really stupid. Like I was just talking to you before the stream, saying how uh people don't care about Ryan Garcia versus Manny Pacquiao being announced because everybody's talking about Jake Paul versus Ben Askren, and this fight, number one, doesn't make sense to me. The only thing it makes sense to me about is the money aspect of it, where both these fighters, doesn't matter what happens in the octagon, or sorry, in the ring, they get paid in the 8 round bout, right? So, but other than that, it's just that Jake Paul and the Paul brothers, and I'm sure Alec is going to touch on that. They're making a huge mockery of the sport. Just I don't understand. Like I'm a boxing casual fan, right? But even so, even rightfully so, for me, it's just why are we even like entertaining this? Do you know what I mean? There's so many people. There's so many pro fighters that are actually entertaining this fight. I was talking to Alec Carr about this. They were saying like, "Oh, let's go Ben Askren." Nobody likes Jake Paul, so that's why everybody is on the side of Ben Askren and like make him look dumb. Dylan Dennis is saying like, Jake Paul, you just ran away from me. That's why you're fighting Ben Askren. Ben Askren is in this whole thing with Dylan Donis as well. They're both going at it on Twitter. So it's just all just pure idiocy for me. And like I don't think I'm gonna watch this fight personally, just because it's stupid. So okay, Alakar, your turn. Your turn to
Okay,
rant.
before I start, let me take an earbud out. My girlfriend's working, and I don't want to start screaming, so I want to be able to hear
Okay.
myself.
Yeah.
Um, because if I don't, I will.
Yeah.
Where to begin? Um, First of all right, let's start with Jake Paul. Jake Paul, I understand you're trying to make money. You're a YouTube star. You're a YouTube sensation. You've made a shit ton of money in your life. You're this wannabe bad boy. I get it. We all get it. We get that you're calling out Nate Robinson and all of these guys that have never boxed before. You fought another. Was it him or his brother that fought another YouTuber? Like, dude, you're obviously a skilled boxer. You know how to box. You've been training with professional boxers. Why must you make a mockery of combat sports? And that's what you're doing. That is exactly what you are doing. You are making a mockery of combat sports. You're saying I'm a boxer and I can beat these other guys, and you're allowing these casual fans to come in here and start agreeing with you, Paul brothers, that well, if the Paul brothers can beat these people, they're real boxers. That was a real boxing match. No, you beat Nate Robinson. You beat a small, like, a guy that's never trained boxing in his life, and obviously he had no idea what to do once he was in the ring. And now you're calling out first of all, you're calling out Dylan Dennis, who's not a striker, and you're calling out Ben Askren, who avoids striking in fights. and you're just obviously not trying to fight anybody that has a serious boxing background because you know you'd get knocked the fuck out. And that's what, like, ton of amateur boxers have tried to step up to fight you guys, and you said no. And the reason
Yeah.
being is, one, because you wouldn't make a lot of money off of it, which I understand. You got to make money, and the amateur, though, you could blow up an amateur boxer and you could help that man's career, but you don't want to risk it because you know you'll get knocked out within a round, because you're not, though you've been training boxing for 2 years with real trainers, you're not a boxer, man. You have zero amateur fights. You have zero real fights. You fought these, putting on these star events. At least make these fights for charity. Like, this is so fucking pathetic. And now on to Ben Askren. Dude, you are a loser. I'm sorry. You're just a
Yeah.
loser. You're an absolute loser. You got traded for Demetrius Johnson, one of the pound for pound greatest of all time. You were, after a controversial victory, you are a loser and a joke in the UFC. Um, you came up, you were really, really good when you were younger, but you got to the UFC and you talked all this shit and you couldn't back it up. Masvidal, I love the people who are like, well, Masvidal got lucky. He just kneed him in the head. No, Masvidal watched the tape and watched that Ben Askren shoots takedowns, and that's all Ben Askren does. And he kneed him in the fucking face when he shot a takedown. And then he punched him in the face and said, "You suck." Um, and it just goes to show you that the UFC has the best fighters in the world. Um, and for you to take this fight, for you to accept this fight because you can't get a fight in the UFC, is a joke. You're a joke, man. Like, you're enabling this Jake Paul because you want to beat him, right? That's how you're saying it. That you want to beat this guy. When in reality it has nothing to do with that. You want to get paid. You're doing this for a cheap money shot because you can't get a fight in the UFC because you're not marketable anymore. So, dude, like, this blows my mind that this is a real fight. It pisses me off. I love combat sports. I'm not as big as a boxing fan as I used to be, but there are legitimate, really good boxers that are not getting storylines because Jake Paul and Ben Askren are fighting, and that's sad. It's stupid. It's ruining other people's careers, and the Paul brothers know it, and they just don't care. And I'm fed up. I can't wait to see Logan get his ass kicked by Floyd Mayweather. I will watch that fight because I want to see it. I want to see that guy get absolutely annihilated by the greatest, pound for pound greatest fighter of all time. And honestly, Jake Paul, if you don't beat Ben Askren, I don't ever want to see you box again. And I'm not going to watch this fight because this is a joke. Ben Askren is a mediocre fighter. He's a one-trick pony in the MMA. He's a mediocre fighter at best in UFC. He's dominant in other promotions, but he's not dominant in the UFC because the UFC is the best in the world. And like, and because Ben Askren, I believe, is still on the UFC roster, so for Dana White to okay this fight is even more of a joke to me. And I don't have enough to rant about Dana White allowing this to happen because Dana White is a promoter, and I understand he's got to make money and he's seeing dollar signs with this fight. But you're allowing Jake Paul to make fun of your promotion. That's what this is. And I don't get it. I just don't get it. It pisses me off beyond belief that, we get the Garcia Pacquiao announcement. No one talks about it. We're talking about Jake Paul and Ben fucking Askren, a wrestler in a boxing match. Great. Fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, like Alec Carr said, I am not gonna be watching this fight. This is so stupid to me. I might watch the Logan Paul fight against Floyd Mayweather because that just the in your face kind of thing, against Floyd Mayweather. Pretty much, that's the only reason why I'm probably gonna watch it. But I just can't believe this is outshining Ryan Garcia versus Manny Pacquiao, which is a huge
it's a fucking super fight. That's a super fight. This is
Yeah.
this is Ryan Garcia proof. If he can beat Pacquiao, he's doing what many others couldn't. So like, I just it's sad. I'm sorry for Ryan Garcia. I'm not so sorry for Pacquiao. He's made his money. He's
Yeah, Pacquiao's
untouchable in
fine.
the. Yeah, he's fine.
Yeah.
He's just like the greatest thing. And he's living in a mansion in the Philippines. No one can ever touch him. He's amazing. He probably eats and drinks for free when he goes out. But for
Yeah.
Garcia, this sucks, man. You get the biggest announcement of your life, and it's overtaken on the same day that Jake Paul announces his fight with Ben Askren, and no one talks
I
about
know.
it. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I feel really bad for Ryan Garcia, especially after his last fight against Luke Campbell. I mean, like this man is on a mission to become the greatest
Yeah,
of all time, and so it is what it is. Alucard. Unfortunately, the stupidity when it comes to the Paul brothers always comes with the territory. Unfortunately, so that's pretty much all we have for this week. I know next week we have actually a card, which is Alexander Overeem versus Volkov, which I'm really excited about. It's Alistair Overeem versus Alexander Volkov. I don't know, they're very similar names. I got, but that should be a
yeah,
fun fight, heavyweight fight. So we'll be back to break down that card whenever that card gets announced. Really excited. That'll be back in the Apex Center in Vegas. So should be a fun card. And basically, everybody don't. If anyone is still hung up on Jake Paul versus Ben Askren, please look at the Ryan Garcia fight versus Manny Pacquiao. That's the fight that everyone should be focusing on in terms of announcements. That's for sure. And so
for
till
sure.
next time, yeah, till next time, Alikar, we will be back next week on Fights Unwrapped. Everybody have a great week, and then we'll see each other next week for Fight Week. Okay. Have a good
Yeah,
night,
fight. I
everybody.
can't wait for fight week to be back.